Okay guys, it's going to look a little different today because I can't get the Elmo to work while it's recording today, so I'm going to have to do it from a scanned copy so you won't be able to see the textbook, but I'm going to refer to pages as I'm working through that. One of the most important things that I want to make sure that you get out of these worksheet videos is here at Self-Test 37. Number one is pretty straightforward, where it asks for the C-section rate for July. And I like these two problems together because number one is straightforward, number two is not, and it allows us to talk about how data is presented differently in tables. So in number one, the C-section rate says, excuse me, you find the C-section rate in your chapter. It's on page 156, and you know that you need total number of C-sections performed in the period, 6, over the total number of deliveries and not discharges. Remember, we said that the total number of discharges you cannot use because not everyone delivers. So the better potential number is 446, and plus that's what your formula tells you to use if you're following your formula. So it's 6 over 446 for 1.35%. Number two isn't as straightforward. So you've been given OB statistics for October. You've got admissions, live discharges, OB deaths, undelivered, and then your delivery information isn't nice and neat like it is up here. It's broken down for you. And live, dead, you've got a total column. You see I've circled that here, so I remind myself that's a total. Then you've got a breakdown of number delivered by C-section, and if we pop down here to C, we see that we're going to have to calculate that. But before we do that, we have to talk about the number of newborn births versus B, which is the total number of deliveries. So I've got A written up here to the side. The number of newborn births is 59. How did I get that? You're going to take this 50 singles, plus 3 sets of twins, so I've written 6 out here to the side, plus triplets, right? So you have 3 of those. So that's 50, 56, 59. It asks for the number of newborn births, not stillborn or aborted. So your answer is 59. On the total number of deliveries, when you read the rule in the textbook, you're going to include everyone unless otherwise indicated. So total number of deliveries, you've got 50. Singles, 3 sets of twins, so 53, 1 set of triplets, 54, 1 stillborn, 55, 1 aborted, 56. So you see we've got a total of 56 deliveries. And we're going to take that 56 deliveries and put it into our C-section rate. So we need to know the number of cesarean sections. We had 15 single, 1 set of twin, 1 stillborn for 17. 17 multiplied by 100 divided by the 56 deliveries we counted for 30.36%. So if you didn't count the stillborn or aborted, your numbers are going to look a little different. But remember, it's okay to do that in these formulas unless you're asked otherwise. Excuse me. So you get to Self-Test 40, and you've got information for Careful Hospital and the surgical unit. You've got a ton of information here, but they're also asking you to calculate a lot of formulas as well. So your postoperative infection rate is on page 150 in your textbook. Total number of infections and clean surgical cases for a period. So you have, let's find it, you had 4 post-op infections multiplied by 100 over the total number of surgical operations for the period, 164. So you're just pulling the information from the table, plugging it in for 2.44%. Here's how I worked out the death rate. The nosocomial infection rate, which is, remember, nosocomial is big and fancy for hospital acquired. You need the total number of nosocomial infections, and your table lists 2 over your total number of discharges, including deaths. So our total number of discharges, I don't have 138 in there. Okay, well, it would help if I was looking at the right one, right? So I had a little panic right there because I saw 138. I thought, oh my God, where did I get 138? But no, I'm on C, y'all. That's why I'm looking at the screen. So we had 2 nosocomial infections over the total number of discharges. I did actually work this out right for 1.41%. D asked for the percent of surgical patients seen in consultation in December. And we had 41 patients seen in consultation over our total number of discharges, which that formula, I jumped ahead without giving you a page number is on page 158, so you need the total number of patients receiving a consultation over discharges, which makes sense because it's our actual over potential. So we had 41 over that same 142 for 2887. E asks for the bed occupancy percentage, and then F asks for the anesthesia death rate. So we've got that listed there also, so you can check yourself to make sure you got it. Surgical statistics for January. So again, you're given lots of information and a breakdown that's very similar to number 1. I've thrown in some death rates and bed occupancy for you to practice, but we're going to really primarily look at the postoperative infection rate, which is the number of postoperative infections in clean cases over total number of surgical operations for the period. So we have 3, if you look under infections, 3 postoperative infections over surgical operations performed. 3 multiplied by 100 over 185, 1.62%. The nosocomial infection rate, we had 2 nosocomial infections over 172 discharges. Remember, it's hospital acquired to discharges, 1.16%. The consultation rate is number of patients seen in consultation to number of discharges, because remember that your patients, every one of them had the opportunity or the possibility to have a consultation. So you had 27.91% of your patients in January receiving consultations. Then if you scroll down to the bottom, you can pause it here and check yourself on the practice death rates and the bed occupancy rate. Hopefully you got those correct. So we're going to switch on over to Rainbow Hospital and get a little more practice with live births and deliveries, because that's a really important concept, because again, you're trying to work that into a C-section rate, so your numbers need to be right. So when we're looking at Rainbow Hospital in June, the OB unit, we're given lots of information. We've got some admissions, live discharges, deaths, and undelivered. And then they've broken out for us all this information under delivered, and then a further classification of vaginal C-section, and then a column way out here is about newborn deaths, which deaths are listed right here too, but newborn deaths are also listed out here. Excuse me. These would be OB deaths. These would be newborn deaths. So the total number of live births. So again, here we have live births, not all the births, but just live births. So we had 221 single, 3 sets of twins for 6, 1 set of triplets for 3. So when you add all of that together, it's 230. The total number of deliveries considers everyone delivered and stillborn. And we've got a note here that these were all singles, so no multiples. We find we had 221 plus 3 plus 1 live deliveries, plus 27 when you add up the delivery column, right? When you add up the total column, we had 27 stillborn fetal deliveries for a total of 252. C is kind of a random question that asks you for the total number of newborn deaths, and it actually would have been a better question if this number right here wouldn't have been 2. You know, they're testing your ability to read in the column and to know this is the mother's information and here's the newborn information. So newborn deaths, that's why I have some arrows drawn over here. If you pulled from here, you got it right because it still said 2, but this is OB unit, not newborn. Little trickery there from your worksheet. C-section rate for June, nonetheless, your table of information tells you under C-sections you had 65 single, 1 set of twins for 66 total C-sections. 66 multiplied by 100 over the total number of deliveries you calculated for 252. And then you're asked to do percentage discharged undelivered, which is great practice from the back half of the workbook. If you didn't do the workbook or you didn't watch the videos, then you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, but they have a lot of information on there about other rates, and I will just say those are going to be important for you to go study before you take your quiz or your exam. So you're going to need to block out time to go through the rest of the workbook and go back and look at other rates before before you take your quiz. So percentage undelivered, and as your book discussed under other rates, right? Under, what did they call it? Other rates on page 161. You have to figure out basically the actual liver potential. And so the percentage of patients that were discharged undelivered, so you need the 21 undelivered patients. That's your actual group multiplied by 100. And then your discharges all had your total number of discharges all had the potential to be discharged undelivered. And so because this says live, we have 279 plus 2 OB deaths, and you're going to get 7.47%. So that was a little tricky. Hopefully you were able to get that one. Number 5, Hillcrest Hospital. These are, again, just kind of pulling from the table. You've got by service, admissions, discharges, deaths, autopsies, deliveries, C-sections, infections, and consultations. You've got some gross death and net autopsy down here, and here are the answers. So hopefully you did well on those. Your C-section rate, you're going to pull directly from this table. You had 66 C-sections, over 237 deliveries for 27.85%. There are your numbers right there. The infection rate, you had 10 infections. Here's the total. You've got a total row. So you had 10 infections to the total number of discharges already calculated for you, 1,664 for 0.60%. Your consultation rate, your total number of consultations over the total number of discharges for 27.16%. So hopefully you did fairly well on the worksheets. Let's make sure that you're going through, you understand deliveries versus live births, right? Delivery versus live births. Also, what was the one that we just talked about? This was your other rates practice, and I'm talking about what starts in your book on page 161 and goes to the end of the chapter to the matching quiz. So hopefully you've done all that and you don't need too much review before you take the quiz. Good luck!